In a courtroom drama that has become all too familiar, disgraced R&B singer R. Kelly has once again been handed a legal defeat. A federal judge in Chicago has firmly rejected his motion to remove the prosecutors from his case, dismissing his claims as a fantastic conspiracy and deeply unserious and theatrical. The ruling, delivered by U.S. District Judge Martha Packold, adds another loss to a growing list of setbacks for the convicted star. A litany of extraordinary accusations. The motion to disqualify the prosecution was part of a broader and highly dramatic filing by R. Kelly's legal team. His lawyers alleged a wide-ranging conspiracy against him, claiming that federal officials, including the very prosecutors who secured his conviction, were actively working to endanger his life and obstruct justice. The allegations read like something out of a spy novel: a supposed plot by prison officials to have him murdered by another inmate, the theft of his legal mail to manipulate witnesses, and even a deliberate medical overdose that required hospitalization. This aggressive legal strategy, spearheaded by his attorney, was not just about getting prosecutors removed. It was a Hail Mary attempt to sow enough doubt to potentially secure a new trial or a reduction in his sentence. The motion cited violations of R. Kelly's First, Sixth, and Eighth Amendment rights, arguing that the alleged actions of the government and prison officials amounted to an ongoing constitutional violation. The judge's scathing rejection. Judge Packold, however, was not impressed. In her ruling, she meticulously dismantled each of Kelly's claims, calling them out for their lack of evidence and jurisdictional irrelevance. She pointed out that any complaints about his prison conditions, including the alleged murder plot and medical issues, must be addressed in the judicial district where he is currently incarcerated. Since Kelly is now serving his sentences at a federal prison in Butner, North Carolina, a Chicago court has no authority to rule on his confinement. Beyond the jurisdictional issue, Judge Packold's opinion was a blistering critique of the motion's content. She wrote that Kelly's legal team had failed to provide any evidentiary basis to back up their sensational claims. The judge's language was unsparing, characterizing the motion as little more than a mockery of the harm suffered by the many victims who testified against Kelly. A pattern of lost appeals. This latest ruling is part of a consistent pattern of legal failures for R. Kelly. Since his convictions in New York and Chicago, his legal team has pursued every avenue of appeal, from challenging the sufficiency of evidence to questioning the constitutionality of the laws used against him. So far, none have been successful. A federal appeals court in New York upheld his 30-year sentence for racketeering and sex trafficking, concluding that there was overwhelming evidence that he ran a criminal enterprise to sexually exploit women and girls for over a quarter century. The appeals court in Chicago similarly upheld his 20-year sentence for child pornography and enticement charges, rejecting his arguments about the statute of limitations. In both cases, the court sided with the prosecution, affirming that the evidence presented at trial was more than sufficient to convict. The U.S. Supreme Court has also already declined to hear his appeal. The road ahead. With this latest defeat, the path forward for R. Kelly's legal team appears increasingly narrow. They have now lost at every level of the federal court system, and his attempts to challenge his convictions have been met with resounding rejection. The hope of a new trial seems to be a distant dream, and his scheduled release date in 2045 remains unchanged. For the victims and their families, the ruling is a welcome affirmation of justice. It sends a clear message that R. Kelly's attempts to undermine the integrity of the judicial process are failing, and that he will be held accountable for his heinous crimes. For the singer himself, who has consistently maintained his innocence, the court's decision is another stark reminder that his once bright career has been extinguished, leaving behind only the long, bleak reality of his prison sentence.